Okay, so this is a 1948 Cutting 700A engine with a Fargo brand sprayer pump unit that it is on. I believe the pump is a different brand that they just bought. This is basically as late as these engines get because this one has the casting date on it from when they made the casting formation for this block is of February of 1948, and I believe it was either March or May that they stopped making the 700A and replaced it with the B700. I have a couple different videos on B700s and 700As, so if you want to check those out, I'll probably have a couple links down somewhere or have some at the end of the video. This is a neat little engine with a neat little unit. It has a nice rusty patina to it, so I'm going to try and oil it up as best I can to give it a nice look. I'm going to go through the carburetor and the engine and all that stuff along the way as well as the pump. As of right now, the engine is currently loose to a point, but the pump has something sticking in it so it does not turn all the way over. I need to remove the pump, and then I want to see what damage the engine has. I'm going to deal with the pump last and then move on to the pump later. As of right now, it just needs to be torn down a little bit, and I'll get back to you with what I find on my travels. I believe everything looked pretty good and promising, though when I brought this in, it is currently freezing here in Iowa. And when I brought it inside, water started dripping out of the carburetor, so I might have to go get a parts engine from my house and fix the carburetor. Is there water in here? Well, there's oil in there, so that ain't bad. So I'll cut back to when I have a couple things off here and we'll see what we find. Now I get to see if the engine turns over. The engine turns over, but stuff's coming out the exhaust and we have no compression. So I guess that's a start. I'm not sure if I can catch that on camera. The big chunks already flew out, so I guess you don't get to see the big chunks. I suppose, let me just get you guys zoomed in a bit more here. So I'll get to tearing off the shroud and a couple other linkages. I'll probably take the carburetor off too while I'm at it, and the head, and we'll see what's inside the head and see how it goes. Okay, so I got the shroud off. It didn't look too bad, as you can see there. There's just a bunch of crud in the bottom I have to clean out. It's all oily and gross. A chunk of the exhaust fell off, which is no big deal. I have to take that out hopefully anyway. I hope that exhaust elbow comes out. If not, I'll have to try to cut it off and chisel it out. But I got all the bolts off the head here. I'm going to get you guys in for a closer look. And you'll get to see what the inside of this head looks like when I do, because I haven't picked it up yet. And then we'll decide what we're going for from there. Okay, let's see what this looks like in here. That's way better than I was expecting. There's no rust or nothing. So I wonder if I can... The intake's even loose, which is surprising. Oh boy though. Those valve guys, this engine's been ran a lot. I don't know how well you guys can see it, but watch that intake valve. It's very wobbly. Which, in an engine this size, it doesn't really matter. The spring tension and the taper of the valve will keep it seated pretty good. I've got a new gasket set, so I'm going to just chuck this. I'm actually quite surprised with how this looks. It might be as simple as breaking this loose and buffing them in a little bit, and I won't even have to take them apart, which would be great. But yeah, if the exhaust is that loose, then we probably won't have much of an issue getting it broke loose. I'll actually try here a bit before I go back to speeding things up. Oh yeah, that's going to be easy. Do it in both of them for good measure. Well, this one's up, I'll spin it around, get it in there. If you have it half open with penetrant in the top and you wiggle it around, it should kind of let the oil seep in a little better. And now we have two valves going up and down on their own. Doing both a quick lap in here. They're definitely very worn, as the exhaust valve is almost flush with the top of the cylinder. It's very worn out. I can quick whip all the carbon off of this, and I'll let this part be. And I never checked this for oil. Let's do that quick. Wow, it's actually got oil in it, so it looks way worse in person than it is inside. That's always a bonus on this kind of stuff. So I'll just lap these valves in a little bit more like this without any kind of materials or anything, and it should be pretty good. Next biggest deal will be just getting this carburetor working. Okay, so here is the carburetor. I got it off. It came off just fine. As you'll see, the gaskets were very peely and gross. The first thing I noticed on this carburetor, I don't know if you saw it at the beginning of the video and all my shots I took of this, it's missing a ball, or I guess you could call it a Welch plug on the bottom here. So I'm going to probably try and find a little BB or something like that I can punch back into that to seal that. Unless the inside of this looks so bad that I can't do anything to it. That could possibly be, but we'll find out here in a second. Just take some of it apart here. That jet doesn't look too bad in there. I might be able to get it out on this one. Well, the jet don't want to come out, so I guess we'll just have to leave him and hope he'll work. Let's see if the float is crushed or not. If it's crushed, I'll just go to my house and get a different carburetor for it later. I expect it's probably pretty crushed. If there was water dripping out of it, it probably crushed this float. So, let's see what we got here. Oh yeah, completely imploded. So, the thing I could do if I wanted to be cheap about this, which I'm not going to, is you can unsolder the half of these, take it apart, pound it back out, put it back together if you so desire to take the time to do that. I'm not going to take the time to do that. Get the upper jet out of this, hopefully, with some luck. So a screwdriver doesn't want to touch this upper screw on this. So right here there's a jet screw on these that goes through to the bottom jet. I was trying to get at it with a screwdriver and it wouldn't come out, so I'm going to take a vice grip here and work it a little bit. It just popped loose. You have a risk of snapping it off when you do that, but at this point it's not much else I could do. So now it's loose, I can actually get it out. And there's the jet, pretty scuzzy looking. Set that off to the side for now. Take both these needles out too. So, see if I can get you guys to see this. Right here is my idle screw. And something missing on this idle screw is the fact it doesn't have a tip anymore. It's a blob. So inside this carburetor somewhere is the rest of that, either jammed in it or possibly very well could just be gone. But that also means there's a very good chance that the seat on this idle circuit is completely crushed and or ruined. So I'm going to take the choke side of this off, and then I'm going to put the carburetor somewhat back together and then put it in my junk bin, because there's still some parts in this that sometimes I need this butterfly, so I'll put it in my junk bin and use it later. So that's pretty much trash now, besides some parts I can use out of it. Okay, so I went and got some more carburetors for my house here. They're not quite the same model as the one that originally came on a 700A Clinton. They had ML7As, and these are ML1Bs, I believe. Yeah, ML1Bs. The major difference that I found is the venturi is the same size, which is a big crucial part when you're using a different carburetor for an engine. That, and another thing that was different is the way the choke mechanism is on them. So as you can see, these ones have a cable style hookup and these ones have a tab. Another thing that can change on the models is how the outlet comes here. Some go up and some go on the side. These still have them on the side, which is the big part I care about. Otherwise I could swap my bowl out too. Other than that, I didn't see any major differences that'll mess me up here. The jet appeared to be about the same size. I grabbed two of them just in case one has problems like the one I started with did. So I'll get tearing into this one and see what I get. I already at one point sanded this one flat, as these bow on this really badly. They bow in this face really bad, so you always have to sand them flat or use cork gaskets. So I'm going to start tearing this one down and see what I get. And we'll see how it goes. Okay, so I tore it down to the point that I need to, Everything looks a lot better compared to the other one. As I showed you, the needle is missing about 1/4 inch on the other one compared to the one that was in this one. The float isn't crushed, and everything seems to be looking pretty good. The main needle jet underneath here, like the other one, didn't want to come out, but that's fine. That should be fine without taking that out. Everything else looks pretty good. I'm just going to clean this up a bit with some carburetor cleaner and probably put it back together, and hopefully it'll work good. I don't want to clean it up too much. With the patina of this engine, a nice shiny carburetor wouldn't match very well, so I'm just going to get it working and cleaned up a little bit and slap it back together and see what we get. And there I have a carb that should work pretty good. And if the float has a hole in it, we'll find out when we have it on the engine. And with this style carburetor, it's easy to fix that with just 3 screws, and the float bolt comes off. You don't have to take carburetor off or nothing to fix that. So I guess I'll get on to starting to clean up the engine a bit. These have, luckily, a cover underneath the flywheel on them originally. Most of them are missing. This one, luckily, still has it, which means I probably have a good pair of points and nothing really living in it. There we go. Just need a little lube. So now I just need a hammer and the nut that puts on this. Put it back on, get perfectly flush, and hit it, and my flywheel should come off. If you're relatively new to this engine thing, it's best to use a brass or lead hammer on this so you don't have as big a chance to breaking it. But I don't have either of those right now, so I'm just going to use a big hammer. And if you can hit it true enough and not hit it on the sides, you won't mess your thread up. If you hit it cattywampus or anything weird, it'll probably bend it or mess it up. Mine didn't bend it, but I did hit it wrong one time and smush it a little. But not enough to hurt it since it was flush. If I wouldn't have had the nut on there, I would have smashed a couple of my threads and I would have had to re-thread my crank a bit. Now I just have to take the 3 screws off and we'll see what we're dealing with. Okay, that looks very promising. You can see the original green that used to be on the engine on the inside of the dome here. Really nice dark green that Clinton had. The stuff inside here looks very promising. These coils have a big tendency to go bad. Let me get you guys in here a little bit better. There we go. Okay, so I've just got to get these cleaned off here, and there's a lot of oil on here that I'm going to probably wipe off a fair bit of so it doesn't get back in the points and mess me up. We'll find out if the condenser's bad here in a little bit. Okay, so I put a new condenser on it. I put everything back together. It seems to be working pretty good now. It ain't the best spark I've seen, but these mags aren't always the greatest, so I'll have to go with it. So as you can see, it has a spark. I don't know how well you guys can see it, if at all. I don't think it's a good enough angle for you guys. Oh, you can see it. It ain't the brightest spark I've seen, but I don't have a lot of these extra coils roaming around, so hopefully it's enough to get this engine running. But that's gonna be all I need to do with this mag. pretty good. The exhaust leak's not very nice, but I might just tear it apart off camera and see if I can get that fixed. Well, thank you for watching the video. Leave a like if you liked it. If you didn't like it, I don't know why you would have made it this far in the video in the first place. If you're new here and you like the video, please go down and subscribe if you want to. I make a bunch of videos like this. I try to make a couple a month at least. This engine turned out pretty nice. I will be doing a video of the water pump separately with the base. Hopefully get another video of this engine outside in the light after I get a couple more things done to it so it'll run a little bit better. I have a little bit of gas leak over here. I think it's on this nipple in between the two. Or it could be in my soldering job, though I didn't see any when I tested it after I soldered it. Other than that, thanks for watching. Hope to see you in the next video, and you guys have a nice day.